All right, everybody, welcome back to the show. I'm glad to be with you, and hopefully, while you're listening to this, I will just be getting back from New Mexico, recovering, Lord willing, from some heavy pack-outs and getting some awesome footage for elk shape. But anyway, as you listen to this, I hope you guys get a lot out of this episode. Today, I sit down with Marc Smith, AKA the Muley Slayer. So yeah, he's on Instagram as MuleSlayer1, and he's a really awesome guy. He's been around the industry a long time. You might have heard him on the Gritty podcast, or I'm not sure if he's been on the Cafaro cast or not, but I know he knows those guys. And he's been kind of in the archery, mule deer, even traditional archery world for a while. So he's very knowledgeable about the industry and about killing big mule deer, as his Instagram handle suggests. So he's also a believer and a man of faith and a family man. So I really enjoyed talking to him. He's a great guy, really friendly, easy to talk to. And yeah, this is an interesting conversation that we get into a lot of stuff we normally get to on this podcast, fitness, faith, killing big mule deer. And so anyway, it's just a great episode all around. Hope you guys enjoy it. Hope it gets you pumped up if you're about to head out for a mule deer hunt, or you got something lined up later, or you're heading out for one as you listen to this even. So anyway, guys, I hope you enjoy the episode. Please leave me a rating and review if you get a chance. If you do so, whenever I get back and things settle down, I'm going to go back through my reviews. If you leave me a written review, I'll give you a shout out on the next episode, and I'll send out some more decals for you guys who are leaving me reviews. That's really helpful. Again, I just want to mention the YouTube channel. Please go ahead and subscribe if you haven't already. Just search my name, Hunter McWaters, on YouTube. I got some gear dumps on there. All the podcasts are on there, some extra videos, and of course, all my hunts from this fall will be eventually making it on there. Also, I forgot to mention last week, but my new website should be live as you're listening to this, which is huntermcwaters.com. It's going to be kind of more of a hub for all the projects I got going. This book I'm working on, the podcast, the films, and some other exciting projects coming out. So I've actually gotten some professional help on it this time, not just a lame Wix website. So go check it out, huntermcwaters.com, and sign up for the newsletter that's on there, if that's live. If not, just check it out. And looking forward to seeing you guys soon. Hope you enjoy this episode. Hope y'all's hunting season is going well. And I'll see you guys in the next one. So I'm sitting here with my guest today, who is the infamous Muley Slayer, Marc Smith. How you doing, man?
Doing good, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and I see you got, I was talking earlier about your impressive trophies back there. You got a lot of velvet bucks, I'm noticing, too.
Yeah, this is the entryway into my home. It's where most of my, a lot of my treasures are in here, but these are almost all bow kills in here. I think there's 26 in this room, and these are archery kills. And then in a couple other rooms, my biggest hardhorn mule deer in the living room, and then I have a workout room that's my actual home office, has a bunch of whitetails in it. So
oh, nice, man.
I'm working on an expansion, and when we get the expansion, all of the heads will go out in that one area. So that's super cool about it. But
so you're displaying the mule deer, but you're hiding all your whitetails because you're ashamed of them, huh?
No, actually, man, I have a super special secret feelings place in my spirit for whitetails, and they're in there where I work all day long. So believe it or not. So
okay. So actually, just this is kind of a random question that's popped up when I saw your mounts, because I'm going to Kodiak in August, and I think there's a good chance that the deer are still be in velvet. So how does that work with? I've never gotten a deer mounted in velvet. How do you keep it, and like how does that all work?
Well, because I've always hunted in close proximity to, other than a couple of deep wilderness hunts, most of my hunts have been a day's hike from the vehicle.
Okay.
So once I got an early season buck down, and it was very early, say that, the last 2 weeks of August, they're still pretty meaty, still a lot of blood in there. They're still in that final growing stage. I'm able to get them out within a day and get them in a freezer.
Okay.
To a taxidermist or in a freezer. And once you freeze them, then let him have it, take over. Now I did kill a small buck, but he was pretty bulby. Had a lot of blood in him in a wilderness area in Nevada a few years ago. And actually the boys I was hunting with, their grandpa's a taxidermist. And he sent us with a bunch of syringes and a vial of formaldehyde. Okay. So when we got that deer back to the truck, we were able to shoot formaldehyde into the veins. And that kept that one, because we were a few days from home on that one. So if I was going to Kodiak, I would definitely check airlines specifically, see if I can fly that stuff. But I would go to a local taxidermist, get some syringes, and I would get some formaldehyde, and I would definitely take that, shoot them up.
There's a product I saw recently on Instagram called like Velvet Lock or something. Have you heard of that?
I think I've heard of it, but I've never researched it.
Okay.
But I have heard of it.
Yeah, I might try that, or maybe grab some from my taxidermist. But yeah, man. So anyway, that's just the question I had. But how was your 2020 hunting season?
2020 was super good. I only had I'm
sorry, really quick before we jump into that, just for people who may not know you, why don't you give us a real quick just background, who you are, all that good stuff, quick bio.
All right. Okay, Marc Smith, a natural born Texan. That through the grace of God, I was able to move out west and just master. I'm still mastering, but at the time I felt like I'd mastered the craft of bow hunting and tournament archery. Living out west in New Mexico and Colorado is where I started mule deer hunting, and I learned to just hunt public lands. I hunted mule deer, elk, antelope, sheep, all the western big game, all over the Southwest United States, Colorado, New Mexico, Arizona. A lot of people, a younger generation may not know me, but all the Gen X guys my age, approaching 50, they would have read my articles in Bow and Arrow magazine, Bow Hunter magazine, Eastman's. I had a huge start. Cameron Haynes is a close friend of mine, and one of the very first articles a lot of people don't realize Cameron was the editor of Eastman's Bow Hunting. Back in 2001, he started that job. That's where he got his break in. He broke into the hunting industry as the editor of the bow hunting magazine for Eastman's. Oh, nice. And one of the first articles he ever edited was the first article I ever wrote.
Oh, cool.
And we became friends. And so every year as an editor, he had either of those go-to guys, and I was just one of his go-to guys. He knew I was going to have him an article every single year for like 5 years. I would have a deer, elk, antelope all on public ground out west, and he could count on me so we became very good friends and have been for 20 years now.
Nice.
So that's where a lot of folks would know me back in the day. And then I had a website called Wild Country Outdoors for a long time before there was any social media. And I'd post all of my archery tournaments, all of my what we see as Facebook today. I had this web guy, and that poor guy, I had just giving him updates constantly for articles, for video, for everything I was doing. This guy's putting all this stuff out there. Roger Medley, great friend of mine, and he hosted that website for me for like 10 years, and he would just put all that content up because I wasn't a web guy. I would just give him stuff and he'd put it out there. I gave him some archery lessons and became a friend. It was kind of he felt like he should do that for me because he was a web guy. I'm talking 2004, before there was even MySpace, I think. And I had a website and dabbled in video. I never had anything produced, but I shot a few hunts on video until a giant mule deer got away because of camera people. And I'm like, I'm not a camera. I would give everything. I would give all of the art, all of that video stuff, and toss it in a river to have a shot at that buck.
Right.
And so that's when I knew I'm not a video guy. I don't care about seeing it again. I just want the experience. And I'm pretty much a solo guy. I just like going by myself anyways.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
I did my first. I was
I
just
have
say I did
some
my
friends.
first. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, man.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I did my first like little solo like 3-day trip in the mountains this year here in Virginia, and it was a good experience, but I don't think it's my favorite. So I always have respect for guys that can go out for days on end alone.
Yeah. Yeah. That's my preferred method. Unless I'm with my son, and it's just a select few of my best friends, deep friendships that I have with a couple of guys that are very like-minded, both from a faith standpoint and from a hunting style standpoint. There's only like 4 or 5 other humans I even want to hunt with. 90% of my hunting is, you'll see, I'm completely solo by myself, especially on the backcountry hunts. I just prefer to be by myself because then all the decision making is mine, and I'm pretty selfish when it comes to my time off, and I just want to go do things my way. I don't want someone else's opinion. If I get one, it's because of me. If I don't get one, it's because of me. But that's my time to go recharge the batteries and just spend time by myself.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. And I think your son was one of the ways we linked up. And also, I don't know, I started the podcast only about 6 or 7 months ago. And like right out the gate, someone was like, "Oh man, you got to get Marc Smith on." And then I was at TAC this last weekend just meeting some folks, and John from Crispy was like, "Oh man, you need to link up with MULEY SLAYER." So I was like, "All right, that's it. I got to get this guy on the horn."
Yeah. Cool, man. Yeah, no, that's my son had tagged me in, I think, a Facebook post that you had posted. No, my son shared your page on his Facebook.
Yeah.
And then he messaged me and says, "Man, you need to listen to this. This is right up your alley." We're a faith-based family. Our family is strong in our faith, and we're all, Christian home, my son, my daughter, everybody. So when it comes to DIY hunting, it was fitness, it was faith-based. Travis, my son, keyed right in on that. And so right when he introduced me to you, I think I started following you, and you saw that I followed you, then you came to me, and it just worked out. So.
Yeah, man, that's cool.
And yeah,
and so love to hear about your 2020 season. How was it?
Yeah. Okay. So I only had one out of state. I try to at least have one mule deer hunt every year. I haven't killed an elk in 2012. This bull right here.
Oh, nice.
Public land, Colorado bull. He's a little over 300 inches, but he's just a nice mature 6-point that Travis and I backpacked into a wilderness area and killed that bull.
Nice.
That's the last one I killed. And I've only been elk hunting 1 or 2 times since. And only because I didn't draw a mule deer tag somewhere. And I was hunting because I love elk meat and I love shooting bulls and I love it when they're talking, but they're not my absolute passion, not my favorite. They're a lot of work. And where I hunt, I have an outfitter lined out that'll come in and pack them out for me. So I hike in like 8. I go in 6 to 8 miles, kill them, and then I go out and give GPS coordinates to that game bags, and this guy rides in with his mules, and they're out in the day. It's awesome. So I never lose meat. Anyway, I that's my style of elk hunting. Is I love bivouacking, going in deep and just living with the elk for days till you get one. But I didn't have an elk hunt last year. I didn't have anything. I had one hunt, and that was in Colorado, out of state, for mule deer, and I shot a nice big mature would have been just a 3x3, but he actually had an extra little point, made him a 3x4. But he was like, the deer was unageable. When I took him in, they checked his teeth. They said he was beyond 11 years old, unageable, because his teeth were just in his gums. So just a perfect big just old
crusty old.
There are pictures of him on my Instagram, on MULEY SLAYER 1. That's my handle on Instagram. And there's been, I've posted several pictures of him in the snow, and he was just a beast of a deer, a true 300-pounder, just a big old bruiser, real heavy horns, antlers, but you just framing. You just, wow. When he stepped out in the snow, I had my friend Sean, I gave him first right of refusal. It was his first hunt there. And he's only killed one other mule deer way back when we were kids in the 90s. He killed a little forked horn in Colorado with his bow. He wanted to come shoot a nice big buck, and I was going to give him first right of refusal. And when we saw it, I was like, man, you need to shoot that buck. And this hunt, we're hunting migrating deer. So they're on them from when you see them to when they're gone, they're moving down a river. And you have to be pretty aggressive. And he had not done that style hunt before. And the buck had got past him 3 times in the openings. And I made a little move and I could see the buck just before he went out of sight. And I was like, I told him, I'm not going to let this deer get past this dude. And I whacked him and I got him, and I was proud of him. But Sean ended up shooting a nice 175-inch 4-year-old 4x4 buck, real nice 25-inch buck that he got mounted on a pedestal. That it was, it is exactly the buck he went for. So I think he's actually happier he got a higher scoring deer. But me, I'm just happier shooting that old buck on the mountain.
Yeah,
but we
was
went
that
3
archery
for 3.
hunt?
No, it was a rifle hunt.
Okay, cool, man.
Yeah, it was Sean Dennis and Jeremy Duggar, which is another one of my very best friends, and he's the one that taught me how to hunt mule deer. It was him, Sean, and I, and in 3 days we killed 3 big mature bucks on public land.
Were you shooting your Weatherby?
Oh yeah, I only shoot my Weatherby.
Nice. Which one you got?
I have several, but my signature rifle, the one that is my mule deer hunting gun, is a Weatherby Laser Mark 5 257 Weatherby mag that I've named Thor.
Nice.
The god of thunder, that thing. And it's just I've shot. I got that rifle. They gifted that rifle to me in 2016 is when I got on Team Weatherby. I just got to be friends with Adam Weatherby at a hunting show, and then they just adopted me into this. I didn't even mean for it to happen. I'd been a Weatherby fan my whole life, right?
Yeah.
You brought up Weatherby, so I'm going to kind of tell you the story.
Yeah, sure.
I know you had Adam and Stealthy Hunter on recently, which are Weatherby guys, obviously. And I just got in with them, and we just immediately were kindred spirits. And I'd been a fan since I knew what Weatherby was. And I was on this writer program where they would send guns for me to test. And they sent me this Mark 5 Deluxe, and I ultimately turned it into a laser mark because that's what I always wanted, the real pretty laser engraved stock. Yeah. And I got the stock from them later. But once I put it together and scoped it, made a hand load for it that it loves, it's just like a laser. It does not matter. It can be standing still, running out to 500 yards. It's like magic. I just put the crosshair on and I shoot, and the thing goes down. So that's awesome. That muley buck, I shot with it. And Sean, they had also gifted me a Badlands, because I'm on Team Badlands. I'm on their operative pro staff. So when Weatherby came out with the Badlands Vanguard, they sent me one, knowing, hey, this is right up Mark's alley. Yeah. So they give me this gun. Well, Sean didn't have a good mule deer hunting gun, so I brought both of my 257s. That I'd hand loaded for. And actually Jeremy hunts with a custom 257. So all 3 of us were hunting with 257 Weatherbys. Well, Sean took his only real big mule deer buck, his farthest shot. I want to say 385 or something, 385 yards, just putting the crosshairs on, letting it rip. And he got it. And we're sitting there at the deer, and it just came over me. I just said, well, I hope you like your new rifle. I just gave him that one, because it's like, that's awesome. I have my gun that I'm always going to hunt with.
It would just sit there anyway.
Many, but you don't have extra guns, but I felt like I had an extra one, Yeah. And Sean's like, oh man,
That's awesome, man.
We both drew New Mexico tags for 2021.
Okay. And that was my next question. Again. What's your 2021 plan?
Yeah. 2021, I drew New Mexico. With an outfitter friend of mine, nice. And we're gonna go DIY. We're gonna do a it's gonna be like a drop camp where he comes in with it for a couple of days and turns us loose. But it's in tracking country, which is my absolute favorite way to hunt mule deer.
Awesome.
We're gonna go track them down in the desert and kill a couple of dirty giants. Hope so. Anyway, that's
nice,
what we're gonna try to do.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I invested in a Weatherby this year myself, and same thing. I've just always been a fan, and I was looking at a Tikka and some other guns, and I was like, man, if I get a Tikka, I'm just always gonna want a Weatherby, and then I'm gonna end up buying one later anyway. So might as well just get one now. So, but I love that thing. But yeah, man. Just shifting gears a little bit here. I heard you talking one time on another podcast about you kind of had this infamous statement at one point about how you didn't get the whole fitness and hunting thing because you were just you're just a country boy who likes elk steaks, and but then you went back on that and decided that fitness was important. So I guess what kind of changed your mind there, and then how'd you get into fitness, and what have been the fruits of that in your hunting career?
Man, it's a pretty cool story. I'm glad you brought that up. When I lived out west, I stayed in pretty decent shape, and in my job, I was still in the field a lot, doing the actual field work of my day job before I had gone to completely into management. And management is, a middle-aged man going into management is horrible for your physique and for your overall health.
Yeah.
The stress kills your creativity. It kills your, it just kills everything manly about you. I don't know how else to explain it other than it just robbed me of creativity and anything to, when you stop working, you just get soft. You just get soft, even though you think you're not, you do. And so I'd gotten into management in my 40s out in Colorado. And then I come to Texas and oh my gosh, when I got back to Texas, I was a full blown manager and they have Whataburgers on every corner with sweet tea. And I started drinking sweet tea and I blew up and I got like the fattest I ever got. And I got up to like 245 pounds. And that was the most I ever weighed, like over 38-inch waist. It was just,
how tall are you?
It was gross. What's that?
How tall are you?
I'm 6'2".
Okay. I'm just at 6 and I was at 250 at one point. So I got you beat a little bit.
It's just, the feeling that
it's gross.
You just grow. You just feel like, and I don't mean to be derogatory, but I just felt like a fat old lady too. I didn't feel manly. I didn't feel tough. I had no testosterone.
Yeah.
And I just felt like, anyway. And I went on a backcountry hunt with some young friends of mine, team backcountry. We went to a wilderness area in Nevada and I was in that shape and I made it, but they had to carry gear for me in and out. And they helped me, like Corey carried my buck out and it was cool. And I got some pictures of my horns on my backpack, but it wasn't legit. Like I carried it a little while like that, but not the whole way like that. And that's not who I am. Everything about me is sincere, legit. What you see is what you get.
Right.
I don't pose for anything. I don't play. Like what you see is real. And I felt so sick at my stomach about some of that hunt. And then my grandkids, I have 7 grandkids now. My 7th is on the way. But my father-in-law was here in 2015 for Father's Day. Like, I remember it to this day. Like, we're all sitting in the living room, and I had a Utah hunt that year. And my grandson patted my belly, like patted on it or whatever. And my father-in-law is like, he goes, yeah, your grandpa ain't gonna even be able to go up in the mountains this year, mule deer hunting or whatever. Look at that belly on him. And man, he was just teasing me, but it got to me. And I'm like, it's now it's legitimized. Someone that I love just looked me in the eye and said, dude, you've gotten fat. And that's just a fact, right? And rather than let it hurt my feelings, it motivated me. And I started doing some research and I ordered a wilderness athlete kit to get Kickstarter, because I'd use people don't know this, but back when Wilderness Athlete first started back in like 2006 or 7, I was me, Randy Ulmer, Cameron Haynes, and Bill Winkie and Trevin Stoltzfus were the 5 original pro staff on Wilderness Athlete.
Oh,
and
nice.
They reached out to us. So I was like hardcore back then. And then as they sold and other people bought them and they got diluted into something else, I stepped away from the business. They'd come up with a product I didn't agree with. And it was just all weird, politic business stuff. So I went another way and I didn't use their stuff anymore. Well, I knew some of the stuff worked great and I wanted it back and I wanted to kickstart my fitness. And I was talking about it on social media. I ordered the kit. I got started. And Jordan over at Mountain Ops saw that. And Jordan Haberston over at Mountain Ops?
I don't know.
Okay, well, Jordan at Mountain Ops saw me talking about that. And Mountain Ops, I'm still a partner with them today. That's why I want to talk about it. The supplements, not a commercial form, but this is part of the story.
Yeah.
He said, hey, been a fan. I've read your stuff. I know who you are. I saw you at the Hunt Expo, blah, blah, blah. I go out to the Hunt Expo in Salt Lake every year, do seminars on how to do yourself, mule deer hunting stuff. And I'd met him out there, I think, one time. Well, anyway, he sent me a bunch of stuff to try. and it really worked, and it kickstarted my fitness. And now that we have so much stuff on social media, so many influencers and so much information,
Right.
I went and researched it, and man, I went from 245 to 208 like that, man. Like I got a gym membership. I hired a trainer. I got a trainer for 6 weeks. I stayed on mountain ops. I went to the gym. I was going to the gym twice a day. I was never a runner.
Yeah.
But we have a local 5K called the Heroes of Midlothian for the firefighters, police, and ex-military, former military here. Every year around Memorial Day, we have a 5K for them, and friends across the street, they're big. He's kind of he helps head it up, and they invited me out one year. And so in 2015, right before the fitness journey, right before I started getting in shape, I went and did that. I was going to do it just to see. So at 2:45, I ran it in 45 minutes, a 5K, wow. And I walked most of it, but I did it, right?
Yeah.
A year to the day later, I did it in 24 minutes, and I got second place in my age category.
Nice,
and I'm not even a runner, but I started running, and I started doing it. Well, that's what I took the whole, from Cam Haynes' motivational video. What if hunters looked at it as an athlete rather than just what the world thinks of Bubba hunters, right?
Exactly.
The beer can guys, whatever. I think I heard on your initial podcast of what the public thinks the hunter is, right? Yeah. This rifle hanging out the window of the pickup truck with a beer between his knees shooting stuff, right? Well, I took that mentality, ramped it up, pushed myself to become a runner, lifting. I had never in my life lifted more than my body weight bench press, even in high school. And I was benching 275, which is a lot, going from zero to working out. So in 1 year, I got to bench press in 275. I ran 10 miles one day. I just took off and said, I'm going to run until I go 10 miles. I don't remember what the time was, but I ran 10 miles one day. Nice. Didn't walk one step of it, and I just started pushing myself. Well, when season came in 2015 in August, I had a really tough hunt in Utah that I had drawn. It was a unit. It's not a bow specific unit like a lot of the units that I had hunted in Utah that only had bow seasons. There was also gun hunts in this unit. So the deer densities were low, and the hunt was very steep. And the hunter success in this unit is very low for archery. And I went, and I had a job at the time where I could take a lot of time off. And I went and I stayed 15 days.
Wow.
And I stayed on the mountain 15 days.
Dang.
And I had to haul my own water. And this was, and I got a buck, and it was like the most glorious, one of my favorite bucks of all time. Had some of the most interesting conversations with the Lord on that hunt. I had some super highs, some super bad lows, really discovered a lot of stuff about myself in those 15 days. But in the end, I shot a buck that I'd seen 3 times. I watched another hunter miss him.
Oh, man.
I'd actually watched 2 other hunters miss that buck. And he was just an older 4x3, but he was in a couple of articles I called Lucky 7. He only had 7 points, being a 4x3. So I called him Lucky 7.
Nice.
And but his luck ran out on day 15, and I arrowed him. I just snuck up on him, and I just dove off and went where him and some other bucks were into the deep, deep timber. And I just snuck right up on him and shot him. And like 14 days, it was the hardest thing ever. And on the 15th day, I just walked up to him and shot him. It was crazy.
Yeah. And then but that never would have happened if you were sitting there all pudgy at 245 still.
No, I would have given up. I was, because I had learned to starve myself so I didn't stay hungry all the time. Yeah. And so I didn't stay hungry all the time, But when I shot that buck, I knew that I got that buck 100% off of 30 years of bow hunter savvy for sure. But because of my physical abilities to go further, to stay longer. Yeah. And then the next year I went back to Utah and went to a super high pressured area, the Wasatch area of Utah. One of the most popular areas right out of Salt Lake. Yeah. Super, super high deer density, but super high hunter density also. And you have to outsmart the people, not outsmart the deer. And man, on day 4, I got it done on another nice, big, mature 4x3 buck. And I was, again, I say I got that deer because of fitness, because I got up at 4 in the morning in my underwear and hiked in the dark because I didn't want to be all sweaty.
Yeah.
But I had to beat other hunters to this spot. And I did. I mean, I actually raced. I jogged with my pack on, in my underwear, my boots, my headlamp, had my clothes rolled up, and I jogged in there and got set up at the crack of daylight. I could see headlamps coming up the mountain, people coming in to hunt for the day, where I was already above them staying. I was sleeping up there. I wanted to be in front of them. Nice. And man, I arrowed that buck at like crack of daylight, opening that first morning, or the morning that I shot him. It was 4th day of season. But I shot him at the crack of daylight because he knew he could feed out on that bench and when the sun's up, he's looking at those headlamps coming up. He knew with the game,
Yeah.
And they would go to this other spot in bed. Well, that night I'd seen other hunters on this other side. So I knew between those guys and those guys, I'm going to have a window of like 5 minutes maybe to get this done. And I shot that buck. But again, It was fitness. And so from that point on, my weight has fluctuated. It goes up and down. Having hardcore tags in my pocket definitely motivates me to train harder. And I don't have anything like that right now. So I'm just doing bare minimums. I'm just doing a little cardio and a little lifting around the house, but I just don't let myself go anymore. And I absolutely limit the amount of cheeseburgers.
Yeah. It's so important to have that goal, man, for sure.
Yeah.
That's what got me got me motivated, was this ticket booked to Alaska. And I was like, I know I got to get going. Well, that's cool, man. Well, yeah, I mean, you definitely want to maintain that base level, but once you've kind of made that huge shift in your lifestyle and lost all that weight, it becomes much easier. Like you said, just it's kind of part of your thing, and it's, at that point you just kind of can maintain, and it's not as tough. But it is tough, getting in gear for that. But that's awesome you're able to do that, man, and it just makes not just your hunting, but your whole life just so much better and more enjoyable. You just feel better about yourself and everything. Plus, I talk a lot about, people try to separate in their head so much, physical, mental, and spiritual health and wellness, when really they're so interconnected. If your body feels like garbage, no matter how much you're feeding your mind and spirit, to some level, you're going to feel like garbage. So, and that's kind of what I wanted to get into next is, I know you're a man of faith and a believer, and I've heard you mention it on different podcasts and stuff like that. But I'd like to just kind of dive in there a little deeper on that. And did you get saved as a young man, or do you have kind of a testimony, or how'd you get saved? And then how does faith play a role in your life now, and even into your hunting and that kind of stuff?
Well, it's really, really cool. The summer, my mom and my stepdad and my brother were all living in the Houston area, and I grew up. I never wanted to leave the safety net of my great grandmother and my great aunt that raised me. But I was going to turn 12 that summer, and I knew I had been to church a few times, and I knew I don't remember ever not knowing Christ from a little boy, just from the few visits. I may have gotten saved very, very earlier than what I believe I got saved. But I always believed that Jesus was my Lord and Savior, and I believed in God, and I knew that the only way to heaven was through the Son. I knew that, like almost like I was born knowing that. I've known it so long, right? But I never acted on it. And so the summer I turned 12, I wanted to join with my brother. I was very close to my brother. He's gone now. He passed away at 42 years old, but when we were little kids, man, I just loved him, and I wanted to be with him. So I made a choice when I was 12 years old. I told my mother when I was visiting that summer, I said, I want to move here. I want to be a family. I want to be with you and Bill, my stepfather, salt of the earth. Love him. Good man. Mm-hmm. He made me the man I am today as a worker. He was just a hard-working guy. Good. He loves my mother like beyond belief, So it's just good family unit. They were giving me my space to do what I wanted to do, but then I chose to come live with them, and I did. Well, that summer, they both worked. My mother worked retail. My father was a carpenter. My stepdad, he was a carpenter. And me and my brother were at home alone, and the neighbors they went to church a lot. They went to church on Wednesdays, twice on Sundays, and they invited us to Bible camp one summer.
Oh, cool.
And my brother and I both, I was 12, my brother was 9, and we both accepted Christ at that summer camp. And my mom and dad were not churchgoers, I mean, they are now. I'll lead into that later, but at the time they weren't. They were at the honky tonk every Sunday,
Okay.
Friday, Saturday, just living that lifestyle. Well, at the time, my mother was scared to death of God. She was scared to death, so she didn't even come to our baptism. So me and my brother load up with the neighbors, go down to church, knowing we're saved. We're getting baptized. We got baptized. I come home and tell my mom, hey, me and Marty got baptized tonight. Oh, great. Good for you. Right. She didn't don't talk to me about it, whatever. And I'm not putting her down. It just was not in her wheelhouse at the time.
Right.
But me and my brother, it was in our wheelhouse. And it's God just, I believe God rescues some people, and I believe he protects some people. My brother and I, we were always protected, where we weren't rescued from a bad situation, but we were always protected somehow from bad situations.
Yeah.
And that's part of our testimony. It was always part of his testimony. It's always been a part of my testimony, that just having faith and believing that he's there, even through the worst times, you're going to come out okay. And me and him both just talked about that a lot as we grew up. Like, how did we get to where we're at? We'd always say that, then we'd both at the same time say, by the grace of God, we just got to where we're at,
Yeah.
But later in life, my mother, just in the recent years, she, when my brother passed away, he had an aneurysm he was 42, and he had become an alcoholic, and he had a serious drinking problem, but he was getting his life turned around, and he was doing really good. And he had some teeth pulled and had some dental stuff going on, but he had high blood pressure, and complications of high blood pressure. He had an aneurysm, and he ended up and they brought him back to life. So he was on life support, and the decision came, we had to take him off of that. Right.
Yeah. That's tough.
And it's funny how God works, because my mother, I could see her anger and her anger and her guilt. And I was like, the only way my mother is going to get through that, because my brother was her baby. Okay. He was the baby, and she doted on him, and she loved him, and he was always with her. Like, there was that separation for me up to 12 years old. I wasn't there, but Marty always was with my mom from day one.
Right.
And so when he passed away, and he was passing away, I honestly, there were times I thought she was going to just die of a broken heart. I thought she would just die. When they told us it was time to take him off support, the look on her face will be ingrained in my mind forever. I mean, this is deep, but I want you to understand. There was another person at the hospice facility where my brother ended up going, where they took him there to pass away. There was another person passing away from the same thing my brother passed away from. The difference was my brother was not coherent, and there was another person there passing away the same way that was coherent. And the pleas and the groans and the moans and the hollering coming from that person was more than you could bear. And when my mother was at her angriest, I looked at her, I said, you have to understand, you may be really mad right now and really upset, but God is showing us grace, because that could be Marty in that room, but he's in that room. And that's grace. And my mother changed right then. She was like, you're right. And it wasn't long after that, she came to visit me. We went to church, and she got saved that day. She just said, I believe I'm going to heaven. I believe I'm going through Christ. And I believe everything you've ever told me is true. And I was like, it is true. And so I had got baptized when I was 12, but I went with her and rededicated, and actually went out to the lake with her, and me and her held hands and went under together. I was there with her.
Oh,
you don't see that very often. So we got baptized.
Cool.
So mine was a rededication, and hers was dedicating her life to Christ, and we dunked together. But
nice, man.
That grace, that thing about grace is what I'd always talked about. Me and Marty, God has shown grace in our lives when we should have had probably pretty bad things happen to us. We were young men, young kids. Even though we got baptized at 12, we still grew up. We still were young men, and we still drank, and we still ran around, and we still partied and did things we weren't supposed to be doing.
Right.
But but I think because we had come to Christ so early in our lives, we were chosen not to be delivered from something, but protected from something all those years, And so I share that just so that it gives people hope. You have, with faith and hope, you have to have hope, like, hey, totally. Is there any chance for me? Heck yeah, there's a chance for you. There's a chance for everybody. You just have to believe, And anyway, I wanted to share that story with you because that's very important to me. The hunting stuff is the hunting stuff, but there's a person behind all these heads. Yeah. There's a person behind all these posts. Every day is not a basket of roses for Muley Slayer. He still has a life. But because of the life I lead and the way I lead my family, I can tell you my troubles are few and far between because of the life that I live too. The drugs I never did drugs ever. I never in my life. However, my father died. My natural born father, he died at 58 years old. I think he could have been anything he wanted to be, but because of just some bad circumstances and choices, he ended up a heroin addict. And he was hit by a car when he was 7 years old. And I never really fully understood that. And I wish I would have shown him more grace growing up, but I didn't even understand that till I'm standing there trying to give his eulogy at his funeral, that I truly understood what his life might have been like from not looking at it from a kid that felt neglected, but from the neglector. Yeah. What was his life like? I should have shown more grace to him. I should have been more gracious in whatever he had going on. I've come to terms with all that now, of course, but grace is like the most powerful thing as a human being that you possess, or that you could possess, that you could give to another human being. Yeah. Not gifts, not money, not just your grace. And hey, man, somebody pulls out in front of you, you just gotta love them, man. Every day we have so many opportunities to be angered or done wrong or felt like something didn't go your way. Yeah. But I'm telling you, man, the most important thing that I've learned now, I'm 50, I'm to the center, I'm at the pivot point of my life. Every day, a gift, grace is a gift, and God shows us that every day. And when we learn, they say, be Christ-like. If you want to be Christ-like, don't put on sandals, grow out your hair, walk around trying to be a nice guy. Just show people grace.
Absolutely.
And
return
speak
good
the
for
truth.
evil.
Speak the truth. Yeah. So heavy stuff, my friend. We're talking about heavy stuff. I know it's a hunting podcast, but that's behind the scenes you wanted, right? That's the
Absolutely,
stuff you need
man.
to know.
That's what we're about here. Going a little deeper. So, I don't know, what kind of things would you say you've learned about God or your relationship with God through hunting, through nature?
I didn't kill a deer with a bow and arrow for 10 years. I was 13 years old, mowed lawns, did side work, sold beer cans, picked peas. I did so much work. I was taught at a very young age how to make money, but I didn't learn what to do with money till much later in life. Yeah. But when I was young, I learned quick how to make honest money, honest day's work hard, save up, buy the things you want. And one of the first things I bought, I went to a garage sale with my aunt when I was 12, and I bought the Archer's Bible. I still have it over here with Fred Bear on the cover. And it just inspired me. I mean, I had cousins that bow hunted that I looked up to, older generation, but that book truly inspired me. And I just went to work, and then I bought a compound bow, a Bear black magnesium riser, black shiny compound bow. Back then you had to either paint it or put the little socks on them to camouflage them. Yeah. But man, I read Chuck Adams, everything Chuck Adams wrote, everything Fred Bear wrote, Howard Hill. I was just going through I'd go to the library and check out archery books. I just got obsessed with archery at 12, 13 years old. And at 13, I bought my first archery stamp in 1983 with my hunting license. And I started bow hunting, and I did not shoot a deer with a bow and arrow legitimately until I was 23 years old. Wow. 10 full years. I got saved the summer before that. So I can almost say, my archery and my salvation have gone hand in hand through faith this whole time. So if I there were times I wanted to give up. Like I can't. I missed deer. My bow was so loud, and I was shooting fingers with no sights. I'd climb up, and I didn't have a deer stand. I'd pour a pile of corn on the ground and some oak trees, and I would just shimmy up a tree with my bow tied to my back, climb up 30 feet, a big giant oak tree, and set on a limb and just sit there and just kind of wrap my legs around the limb and just sit there. When a deer walked by, I'd shoot at it. And I missed, I don't know how many. And I was like, man, this is impossible. And I don't think I'll ever kill one. How am I ever going to even get this accomplished, especially with this bow? And because it was like boing, 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 you'd shoot, it was loud, and just the arrows were going 130 or 40 feet per second. The deer would just kind of walk off like they were almost embarrassed for me, I felt like. But it was faith. I had faith that I would shoot one, and someday I would get one shot. And opening day, 1993, I shot a spike. I missed a doe. I bought a brand new setup. I had a PSE Edge 80 pounder with an overdraw, mechanical broadheads. I had everything with a movable sight. I had all this stuff. 1993. So doe walks out open in the morning. I missed it. I don't even remember how I missed it. I was sitting down. I pulled my face mask down. I nailed some boards in a pecan tree, and I was standing on those boards. And then when I missed the deer, I just sat down on the boards. My feet were dangling, my bow's in my lap, my lips dragging the ground. It's already 9:00 in the morning. Yeah. Sun's up. It's Texas. It's 90 degrees. I pulled my face mask down and swat mosquitoes, sitting there waiting on my buddy. We were going to hunt till 10 a.m. And I looked, and here comes this deer walking through the woods. And it was just like, now who cares? I already missed one. I was deflated. I drew back, put my sight on it, shot. Sounded like it hit it. It ran off. I was like, I don't know. Who knows? I climbed down out of the tree, walk over there. My arrow was like purple end to end. I had shooting feathers, and they were all glazed back. And I think I hit that thing. I think I hit it, and I didn't go very far. I could see its white butt laying in some pine trees. It was big old heavy corkscrewed spike, big old mature deer with spikes. And
is it a whitetail or a mule deer?
Yeah, whitetail buck here in East Texas, and it changed my life. That changed my life forever. And it also, I had faith. I sat back and I'm like, I had faith that would happen. Just like I have faith, I'm going to heaven. It's like I have faith every day, right? So those two things went hand in hand from day one almost for me.
That's cool.
And then one other story I'll share this with you. When I was about 32, as an adult, I had gotten as far away from church and from God as I have ever gotten. I was just in a weird place in my life, and I was sitting in a tree going, man, what's the rest of my life going to look like? I need to know I'm going the right direction, and I need to know that I'm making the right decisions for my family and for myself and where I'm going in this thing. And I was sitting there, and I just remember sitting in this deer stand in Kansas, and I said, God, I just need a sign. I keep talking to you and I keep asking you, but I need to know what I'm doing is right and where I'm headed is what I'm thinking is right. And at that exact moment, I heard something, and I looked, and the biggest whitetail I've ever killed, almost 150-inch 10-point, ran out of the woods behind me. He ran out the edge of this meadow, and I picked up my rattling horns and I hit him, and he turned, looked at the tree, I hung him up, and I grunted, and that deer came grunting to the base of the tree I was in. I shot him high. I dropped him with a spine, yet he was so close. And God, that was one of the most sincere prayers as an adult. I remember one of the first most sincere. You can pray. You can say, oh, God, I want to kill a big buck today. Or, God, I hope that buck I've been seeing on trail camera comes. I've given up on that. I don't do that no more.
Yeah.
I get in the tree every morning and I say, Lord, show me what you want me to see today. There's a lesson. Just show me what that is, and I'm accept it, whether it's a big buck or if I fall out of this tree and break my neck. Either way, I'm going to learn a lesson today. I want you to just show me what you want me to see. So Absolutely. So many guys ask me, hey, do you pray when you're hunting? Well, I bless every hunt every morning at daylight, or when I climb in a tree and I just say, Lord, bless this day. Show me what you want me to see. But I don't say, God, send me a 10-pointer. Right. But that morning, I didn't ask for anything other than give me a sign that everything's going to be okay. Nothing tells me everything's going to be okay more than 150 50-inch 10-point land dead under my tree.
Yeah.
That told me, hey, everything's going to be just fine. And you know what? Since that was Veterans Day 2002, and every single day since then has been perfect.
Nice.
Except for the day my brother passed. That's probably the only bad day I've ever had in my life, be honest with you. Like, and when you look at the world, the whole world, like people say, I had a bad day. Nah. Now, if you live in the United States of America, probably haven't ever had a bad day, really. But your brother passed away or somebody like that, that's a bad day, right?
Yeah.
But since that day, I've only had one bad day, man. It's been pretty golden.
Yeah, and that's something that comes with like maturity in your faith. I remember as a younger guy, like doing that, like just begging God, like to send me a deer, and probably that was the first time I prayed all week that week or something, But then, you get more mature in your walk and stuff like that, and you just kind of, it comes like what you're saying earlier, that faith of just like, God's a good father. He's got the right plan for me. I just trust that he's got things in control, and if a buck's going to walk by me today, it's going to walk by. If not, he's got a better plan in mind or something. It's just having that faith that, it's going to work out, and you don't have to try to like force it and like beg God and pray and make things happen. And just kind of like, you kind of just go with the flow, knowing he's a good father and he's got good stuff in store for you if you're walking with him,
Yeah. Oh yeah. You can almost want to will things into happening. And I was that way even in recent years. And I just anymore, that causes way too much stress. I'm supposed to be enjoying that time in that tree.
Right. You don't enjoy it.
Now I just get up in the tree. I listen to the wood ducks. I watch the squirrels. And when a good one comes out, I'm going to shoot it. If it don't, I'm still going to have a good day.
Yeah.
I am going to have a good day. And that's just, no matter what, I'm just going to have a good day every day. And when you think like that, and I have trail cameras running, my phone's dinging right now from some fence crossings where nice. I know that my spy point's sending me some pictures right now. And I'm heavily armed on my property right now, trying to shoot some mature deer. But I have gotten to where I get so caught up in specific deer that 2 years ago, I was so set on shooting this one deer that I let deer that I would any other time have shot go trying to shoot that one. Mm-hmm. And then I shot the wrong deer. You've heard people say that. I actually did. There was 2 10 points that looked identical. One was a whole size bigger than the other. When he came down through the bottom chasing a doe, I thought it was a different deer, and I shot him, and I just kind of truck. I even got like chastised by the guys in camp a little bit. Like, man, that's not like you to act like that. Like, you're kind of a punk, you weren't smiling. Normally, when I kill a deer, man, it's celebration time. I've got music going down at the skinning shed. Yeah. I called everybody, texted, everybody comes around. I kind of snuck in, cleaned the deer, went home. I was mad because I'd shot the wrong deer, and I robbed myself of enjoying that. But my friend Wade, he took the deer and boiled it down. It was a nice little 10 point. Should never have shot it. Just like a 3-year-old 10 pointer. But he boiled it out. It's in my room, and now I love it. I'm proud of it, and I ate the deer, But I put so much work and so much stock and so much time in shooting this one specific deer that I was too caught up in that. I didn't shoot. Yeah. I didn't enjoy the one that I got. I was still after that deer this past season in 2020, but this gigantic 6 point had a 7 point. It was this big old 6 point that was 6.5 years old. Chased a doe past my stand. Opening weekend of rifle season, I was going to bow hunt the whole season. I was trying to kill this old 9-pointer with my bow, the one I'd been after. Mm-hmm. But this deer ran past my stand. I ran down to the woods. I rattled. He came back, and I shot him. I rattled him in and shot him. It was a 6.5-year-old mature 7-pointer. And I was like, wow, I've never even seen this deer before. And I was super pumped about it. And then my friend Wade, last week of season, Wade's one of those guys that he drinks beer half of the weekend. He doesn't go out. He's a hardcore hunter. He's a good hunter, but he goes there also to chill out. Yeah. He has just as much fun. He enjoys the whole thing, right? Like he doesn't key in on one deer. He keys in on having a good time. But, he does drink some beers, and he does sleep in every other Saturday. He doesn't even go out. Seems like, sure enough, this year, into season, the last weekend of season, I knew he was sending me texts. He was killing hogs and having a good time Friday night, slept in Saturday. Goes out Sunday morning. The deer that I've been after for 3 years just walks out and he shoots it, like no effort whatsoever. And I have to be happy for him.
Yeah.
And I was like, I can't even imagine. I can't tell you how many prayers I prayed to shoot that deer. I can't tell you how many nights sleep I lost over that deer. And I texted my friend John Paul and I said, can you believe that? And it was me, my friend John. He's a great man of faith. And I've been friends with him since I was 6 years old. But I texted John and his son Luke, and I'm like, can you believe this? I'm sick at my stomach. I don't remember all the things that I said, but I said something about that deer. And John wrote back very pointedly. He goes, my friend, I'm going to say this to you bluntly. That's a beautiful creature. And God created it. And you know, Wade shot it, and I know you're down, but God wants you to want him as bad as you wanted that deer. You need to put your focus in the right spots and just let the things come at you. So it was just the best advice, right? Yeah. Like he knew I was in a dark place and I was really down. And the only way to get to me, he just went straight to the heart of me. And he just said, hey, how bad you wanted that deer is how bad God wants you to seek him. He wants you to want him like you wanted that. Put your focus in the right spot, Smitty. Okay, you're right. Yeah. I slapped myself around, and that's what I went. From that day on this year, I've been filling feeders when I get around to it. I go hang cameras when I get around to it. I was just like crazy going nuts, getting cameras out and keeping feeders going and all this stuff, trying to grow the right deer and all kinds of stuff. I'm just chilling out, man.
Yeah, now, you got to have balance.
Like, I'm going to have balance. I'm going to just be like, Wade, I'm not going to get drunk on Friday night, but I'm going to enjoy the steaks.
Yeah.
I'm going to get up and go hunt. But when the one comes by, I'm going to shoot it. But I'm saying that is because I think as men, we get too caught up in spending money we don't have on things we don't need. Time is a commodity, and you burn time that everything in your life requires its right amount of time. You know, the children, the wife, your time with God, your time in church, your time in service, your time in serving, your time as an employer. And then you have this hunting. And as men, we can put all of that other stuff on back burners and put it all in hunting, and it'll burn you. It'll burn you because of the passion. You know, people try to justify it. Well, it's my passion. It's my life. I have so many friends that say hunting is their life. No, this is my life. No, it's not. It's part of your life.
Yeah.
Hunting is an important part of your life. That's what feeds you, makes you who you are as a hunting. It's not baseball cards. It's not motorcycles. It's not drag racing. It's not the things that other men. Hunting is part of who you are. But don't ever say this is who I am, because who you are is who you are to the Father. And what are you doing to ensure he's the man he wants you to be? Hunting is a part of who you are. But hunting is not who you are. And I used to be that guy. I used to be the guy that I couldn't miss a tournament. I couldn't miss a hunt. I would skimp here or there to make sure if the only person that wasn't getting cheated out of my time was me. I made sure I had all the time I needed for my archery tournament practice, for my hunts and all that. And man, I was a good father. I was a good husband, but man, there were a lot of times in my 30s, I backburnered a lot of important things because I thought that was important. And now at 50, hunting is still very important. And tournament archery is gone. I don't do that anymore. I just don't have the eyes for it. I tried, but I just can't see those 12 rings like I used to. But now I'm in a whole new era where I'm taking my grandsons hunting.
Yeah.
And that tops. Take all this stuff. This is nothing compared to watching them shoot their first hogs.
Yeah.
And hunting with me in stands. And oh my gosh, man, it's like that's a whole new era that I'm digging more than anything, man.
It's so important. Like, it's definitely easy for guys like you and me to get unbalanced, and you gotta, sometimes your wife's got to check you. Sometimes you got to check yourself, because you can definitely take something you love and make a noose out of it, and then ruin it for yourself, ruin it for everybody, So that's why I always stress, being intentional about, taking care of your body, taking care of your spirit, taking care of what you got to do with the family, and hunting is a part of that, but you got to have that balance. So that was really good stuff, man. Balance is so important. I'm glad we hit that spiritual stuff and the fitness side of things. I'd be remiss if I didn't try to absorb a little bit of mule deer knowledge from the MULEY SLAYER. So want to change just a little bit of the trajectory here. But so I'm pretty experienced whitetail hunter. Done some hunting in Alaska, but I've never hunted mule deer yet. And this year it's not on the menu. So this year, like I said, I'm going to Kodiak in August, and then I'll be leading a trip with my family members out to Wyoming to hunt antelope. So, what would you say to a guy like me? And I have been already starting to build points pretty much everywhere I can out west. But I'm at the beginning of that. And, I got other species I want to get into too, like elk and whatnot. But, so my mule deer is at least a 2022 thing, if not 2023. So what are some stuff that I could, be starting to do now, or researching now, or working on now for when that time does come?
That's a good question. And I get that one a lot. Networking is one of the most important things, man. Doing trades. I've spoke on a few podcasts in recent years, and I will say I'm a prideful DIY guy. I like to do it myself. Mm-hmm. And maybe from a financial standpoint, or just where I'm at in life, my patience. If I had knowing everything that I know, if I wasn't going to go with a friend, I would go with an outfitter on my first hunt out west. If you've never been out west, you have no idea of what anything is, from glassing or, to what mule deer habitat is, or how to find mule deer, because finding a mule deer is much different than finding a whitetail.
Yeah.
Whitetail, I can find a whitetail on any property with sign.
Yeah.
And mule deer, if it's in rocky terrain and you can't even pick up tracks, they rub, but they don't rub territorially like a whitetail does. They don't make scrapes. So with ground scrapes, tree rubs, and tracks, and where they bed and how they bed, man, it doesn't take you. You can go on 100 acres and find a mature buck wherever he's living pretty quick. Yeah. Mule deer have a much larger span. I think they still probably summer in a square mile, or I think they said mule deer up to 5 miles, where whitetail's a mile. But I think truly, if they're not pressured, they'll summer in a 1.5, 2 mile square area. Mm-hmm. But you can spend a lot of time, as a whitetail hunter, you can still hunt through 100 acres, take you half the morning. If you're mule deer hunting, or elk hunting especially, you need to cover that in about 10 minutes. You're going to be in a lot of deerless country. You're going to spend a lot of time slipping around in deerless country, especially elk. But mule deer, you have to kind of know the food sources. They live on the fringes. They're a fringe animal. So they don't live in the thickest stuff, and they don't live out in the wide open. They'll move from the thickest to the wide open, but man, they hang in the fringe areas where the feed, they're going to bed and live right around the feed. And that's antelope bitter brush, mountain mahogany. That's one of their favorite foods. And so they'll bed out in the open aspens a lot of time, up on top of a mountain or up the higher elevations. But they usually feed up a bench. They'll bed a little lower on the mountain in the shade, and they'll feed up on one bench up or 2 benches up. And that's so different than what you're used to with the whitetails. Yeah. It's the same thing if you laid it down flat. It's little. It would look that way, but unless you know how to read a mountain, you won't know that until you see it. Like my hunts, I did specifically. I'm specifically known. I've killed mule deer in so many different scenarios, but I set out to hunt mule deer in 2 different terrains. And I usually hunt 2 states, if I'm being honest. I hunted Utah for a long time. I've hunted other states, but realistically, I either hunt early season Colorado, or I hunt late season New Mexico, or later season Colorado. So Colorado is my go-to archery spot, and I'm hunting above timberline out in the big willow basins. I like to get up high, glass, and I see deer all day long. I see them, I find the one I want, and I make a move on it. When I pick up my rifle, my favorite is to go to New Mexico and go down in the high desert in the northwest corner and hunt any of those units. I like to track them down. That buck, there's a mule deer right there. That one, was like a 175, but that was in a third choice, one of the hardest units you could ever hunt. And I killed him on the last light of the last day. And I cut his track and tracked him down and jumped him up, shot him on the run. Shot him with a 270 Weatherby, actually. That was with a custom rifle. Nice. But back to your question, what advice do I have for you? Unless you're going to go and spend a lot of time, once you find deer, stick to that spot. One thing I will tell you, where a lot of people are going to bounce around. I know some guys that bounce state to state, unit to unit, looking for the holy grail. Obviously, the harder places to draw are the best places to go.
Sure.
If you just want to hunt and learn mule deer, just get tags and go. And if you ever go to an area and you find deer and it was an easy tag to get, keep going there.
Yeah.
And try to kill a bigger one every time you go. But go to a spot where anymore, just getting the tag's a miracle. Get the tag, go to the spot you find the deer in, and hunt them till you shoot the one that you're after. Yeah. And don't let the size of the animal determine the experience. So you get, if you shoot a 2-point or dozer legal, whatever, shoot you one, get you one, then go find you a bigger one each time you go. Try to outdo yourself a little bit, or just see what if the mountain's not showing you anything. If you've not seen a deer in 5 days, a forked horn looks really big on day 5 or 6.
Yeah.
But if you go out and you're just like, bucks are just little 2 and 3 points are all over the place, then you know what? Look for a 4-point.
Yeah. And luckily I'm in the stage where
bigger 4-point. Yeah.
Yeah. And luckily I'm in the stage where I'm really a meat hunter. Mainly that's what I do anyway. Even when I'm whitetail hunting, I'm not a huge trophy hunter, or like I don't really get into hunting specific bucks. I'm kind of like, if there's a deer, it's going to make me happy to shoot it, I'm going to go for it.
Man, so that's good. Bliss. Stay in that place as long as you can, man, because it's bliss, man. It is. Yeah. And I do too. I don't go after score. I don't. I go after experience. And the older and fatter and grayer I get, that's how I want my bucks to look. I want them to be old pot belly, mature bucks. I don't care what they score. I just want them to be big, mature breeding bucks. Yeah. Yeah. Because it's matching wits. Sure. It's after I get enough tags in Texas, and I kill hogs 365, and I eat pork, I eat sausages, I eat all the hogs. Most of the hogs I shoot, I eat a lot of them. But deer meat, I love whitetail. Mule deer is my favorite deer to eat. I love mule deer. I love whitetail. I like elk meat, but my freezer stays full because I killed 5 deer in Texas.
Yeah.
And then I always get one mule deer. I end up having to give meat away. It's just me and my wife home now. We're empty nesters.
Yeah.
So I fill everybody else's freezers. So I'm not into the hunt for food only crowd. I don't buy into all that. I like to shoot stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm not a harvester, I had some of that edited. I had some words edited. I got into it with some editors one time because I said, that's politically correctness. I don't like it. It's sissy. It sounds like a sissy saying that word. I don't want to say it. I kill stuff. I hunt. I kill. Yeah. Animals kill. All animals kill. I'm killing stuff. I'm taking its life.
Got to water it down.
But you have to. But we need to be a certain way. Well, was it gently parenting? No, I whooped my kids. My kids are all God-fearing, hard-working Americans, and I whoop their butts. And I got my butt whipped, and we kill animals and we eat them.
Don't spare the rod.
Sometimes I like to kill them just because I like to be successful. I like to put arrows through animals. I like to shoot stuff with my guns. I don't make any apologies for any of that stuff. I will be politically correct if it makes the room feel good, but just know me and you sitting here and people listening, Marc Smith kills the animals that he hunts. Mm. And I harvest the vegetables that I grow.
Yeah.
But I kill the animals that I shoot, and that's just a fact. So if you edit that out, I'm gonna be mad.
No, I'm not gonna edit that.
But yeah, I don't. I'm not the president of a rifle company, and I'm not the head engineer of a bow company.
You're the MULEY
Those guys have to. If they have to say that stuff, I'm not putting them down for it. They have to say it. But I wish they wouldn't.
Yeah.
I wish they wouldn't have to say it, because the world we live in. But anyway,
so
no politics.
Real quick, just on a practical note there, since there's tons of great e-scouting tools and all that, and it's all great, but we all know the best way to scout is boots on the ground. So this year for me, and maybe some other guys are like this too, I'll be out in East Central Wyoming chasing antelope for 5-6 days. Are there any real quick practical tips for how I could be kind of simultaneously scouting a little bit for mule deer while I'm out there?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Because a mule deer, a lot of those coulees and draws will have some. I think a lot of that country will have some even some lower aspen that grows along those creek bottoms and cottonwoods and stuff along the creek bottoms that are on the edges of where you're going to be hunting antelope. Keep an eye out, and if you see,
So creek bottoms are a good.
yeah.
Key
So
in.
while you're hunting antelope, especially at prime time in the mornings and evenings, take note and drop pins on your map where you see mule deer, because if mule deer habitats is very specific. So when you find mule deer in an area, you're probably always going to find mule deer there. Yeah. Elk different. You see, don't go back to a place you've seen elk before. Generally, you can go find elk there, but they might be 7, 8, 9, 10 miles away. Mule deer, if you're out hunting antelope, I absolutely would. Actually, that's a great point. In 1995, I went on my first elk hunt. And while I was elk hunting, I jumped up 2 big mule deer bucks in this draw. And I kept that in the back of my mind. 3 years later, I went back there with a deer tag and jumped 2 big bucks in that same thing and got hanging right there. A big one, big 4x3. So I took note of where I saw bucks. And then one day I had a deer tag area, went back there and just like, it's almost like no time had elapsed in 3 years. I went back to the same rock, walked to the same spot, and out of the same beds, deer came out and I shot them.
Well, so what are the couple of those like habitat features to key in on that you were mentioning? Specific habitat features that they like.
Well, like I've not hunted Wyoming, but I would look for little outcroppings. One of the things, the smallest ridge out on, you could be looking out across a sage flat, vast sage, a sea of sage for miles, as far as you can see. And if you see a knob out there on it, it's got some cedars on it, and you're like, there's no way a deer would live on that, and especially in New Mexico where we hunt. Some of the biggest bucks that come out of that country are living on isolated little knobs out in the middle of nothing, little islands, because they know no one's going to go out there. If you look on my Instagram, back a few posts back, it's me, Tim Bailey, and Jeremy Duggar, one of my best friends. He killed that big 223, big buck. Yeah. That buck, we got one trail cam pic of that deer the week before season. That's the only way we knew that deer lived there, on a pond. When you go to that pond, it is literally a mile to any rim rock around that pond in the middle of this thing. So by process of elimination, we went and did put a push deer drive on every rock outcropping within a mile of that water hole. The last place we went was 1.5 miles from that water hole out to this giant, vast sage sea. There was this knob out there. It was about 40 acres. Mm-hmm. Just one knob. I would guess it to be about 40 acres, a little high point. And I set guard on one end of it, and Jeremy set guard on the other end of it. Tim went and got the wind at his back, and he zigzagged across that thing. And that deer did not move until Tim was within spitting distance of him. That buck was going to lay on that knob, knowing if he runs off of it, he's got to run across wide open 360, right?
Yeah, okay.
So he was going to lay there and let Tim walk right by him, but Tim actually walked right up on him within 20 yards of him. When he did, the buck jumped up and was J-hooking. He ran past, went out to the end, then turned, was going to go back the way he came. He put enough distance between him and Tim that he was going to go back the way he came. Well, when he went across the way he came, what he failed to realize is Jeremy Duggar sitting over with the 257 Weatherby Magnum watching. Jeremy shot that deer on the run at 500 yards. Woo. It was like 498. That deer was flying, but he turned to go away. It was like 498 by rangefinder. So Jeremy's got a 27-inch barrel on his gun, and it's got that load going like 3,800, 3,850. So it's a 0 to 500 yard gun. I mean, it's like 3 inches low at 500 yards. Well, he's got it sighted in. That deer was going away from him, so it wasn't like it was stotting. It wasn't bouncing. It was just flying straight away. Yeah. Jeremy shot him in the right knee, took him down. He had to finish him off, but he got him.
Nice.
But knowing deer, like especially old, solitary, mature bucks, they like to go out and live. They just want to go. That's why they're a premium mountain lion food. So mountain lions aren't just killing fawns and does and stuff. Mountain lions thrive on big mature bucks because big mature bucks are solitary animals. They like to go live by themselves. And so that mountain lion knows that. That's why you find when you watch, if you're looking, you go, man, why? I wonder how that big buck died, because he's solitary. He's by himself. That mountain lion's only got to beat his eyes, nose, and ears.
Gotcha.
And they know that. And so they live in solitary and they almost get away with it a lot, right? But the mountain lions kill them doing that. And then so do we. Because we keyed in on, don't go where all the deer are. Go to where, if you see a spot like that, you can almost identify it after you've done it a few times. You can be driving around looking for deer, and you'll get a hunch. And me and Jeremy, we knew, we had, by process of elimination, we have pushed every single inch of real estate that this buck should be in. This is the last spot we're going to. Is we almost had we know we're fixing to see this deer.
Yeah.
And we got him. And it was like glorious, man.
Nice, man.
It was a lot of luck, but there was some skill in it. But
sure.
Terrain features like that. Go out of the way places that look like no one would go. Bucks know that. Go there. That's where we're at.
Cool, man. Well, running a little short on time here, but this has been awesome. But I got like a little segment I want to try. I got 3 quick would you rather questions.
Okay.
All right. So first one, would you rather bow hunt only for the rest of your life, but you can't hunt mule deer, or only rifle for the rest of your life and you can hunt mule deer?
That's tough, dude. How did you ever think of that?
Trying to think about how to get you in a tight spot.
Rifle hunting mule deer, and I love bow hunting whitetails. So I'm only going to be able to draw a bow for so much longer. So I guess I just gun hunt the rest of my life.
Okay. All right. Next one. Because I know you don't like cold weather. Would you rather hunt muleys only in cold weather, or hunt all the coos deer and whitetail you want in heat? You have to pick one for the rest of your life.
I can only go hunt mule deer in snow.
Yeah.
In cold weather.
Or whitetail and coos in hot weather.
I'm just going to go hunt hot weather.
Okay. Give up the muleys for the hot weather. Okay.
Yeah.
And last one. You can only shoot a recurve for the rest of your life or a crossbow. Which one are you taking?
Recurve.
Okay. Cool, man. Well, cool, man. It's been awesome catching up with you, man. Learned a lot and enjoyed getting to talk to you.
I enjoyed it a lot too, man. I'm glad to have the platform to be able to talk about all of the things that we talked about.
Yeah, man. I'll have to get you back on. I mean, we only covered about half the stuff I want to talk to, but I mean, that's all good. We'll save it for another episode and do another one here in a couple months or something.
I'm good to go anytime you are, my friend.
All right, man. Well, thanks again.
Thank you.
Thanks again for listening to the Hunter's Quest podcast, and make sure you stay up to date on social media at The Hunter's Quest on Instagram and The Hunter's Quest podcast on Facebook. And we'll have all kinds of photos and videos from my day-to-day, as well as stuff from the awesome guests we're having on here. As always, I'm more than happy to connect with you guys if you have questions about hunting or spiritual stuff or gear, fitness, whatever. Just drop me a line in my DMs, or you can email me at hunter@thisishuntersquest.com. If you like what you're hearing, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button and leave me a rating and a review. That's really helpful. And don't forget to share with your friends. So stay tuned. Lots of cool stuff in the works, and I'm really excited to continue this quest together.